Good evening. You're listening to Season 1 Sundays. I'm your host, Rob. I'm the co-creator of the Xtreme Movie Show, broadcasting to you from the Pinellas Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida, in the Indian Hills Studios near some sort of tiny dwarfish lake. And I don't know what's more appropriate today, going over Season 1 of Haven, Episodes 7 and 8 in our review with RDV and Professor Pixel, or blabbering about how bad the movies are today. Because I got to tell you guys, these two episodes of Haven are kind of weird. They remind me of some good things and bad things about movies like, say, The Frighteners, or I don't know. It's a bit of a mixed bag to me. And I want to start off by saying we're in the middle of the 13th episode, Season 1 of Haven. And while things have been kind of interesting, we've talked about how bad the CGI is here. I like some of the ideas in here, but again, some of the execution is a little questionable, I would say. Big, so let's start off with you for initial reactions. What do you think about these two episodes?
It's a lot of big questionable. It's a lot of big questionable. But no, these episodes, starting with episode 7, I do have to say, starting out with a guy being like folded up is quite gruesome.
That's a good scene, and I think you're trying to say there's something sketchy about this episode. Because that's the name of the title of the episode. Well, it has to be said, right?
Dalton, are you there?
No, Dalton is not. And Dalton has left the building. Yeah. So the guy gets all folded up, and it gets a little weirder from that.
Yeah. Yes. This episode, it is. I always say one of them's better than the other one. Out of the two, I enjoyed this one more than episode 8. I mean, I kind of feel like sometimes the story is a little weak at times.
Right.
But it does have those connecting bits that make it acceptable.
What about you, RDV? What's your initial take on this episode?
Well, this episode really cuts deep. My sides start to hurt and I fold over because I had fun with it.
You're talking about the deaths here, which are kind of laughable, but when you think about what's going on, that's the thing with this show. You're right. The one dude in here gets balled up at the beginning, like Pixel said, on the boat, and it's really awful looking Jim Carrey kind of contortions. But then the other dude that gets whacked, cut in like thirds or whatever, is just kind of weird. And then the other dude gets his face off, like erased off. It's weird.
Yeah, and I think this is actually one of the coolest troubles we had. A girl who can basically whatever she draws happens on the picture, and if someone erases or folds that photo, it happens to the person. So if she draws a picture of New York, and then she crumbles it up, New York crumbles up. Like, that is like, I can't believe, if they got out to the military, like, dude, we knew it. That's their secret weapon now. Draw this. Like, if she draws SpongeBob would come to life, probably.
No, I don't think so.
But I know, yeah, obviously, yes, because she has an ability, and this guy is pretty much using her ability to get back at people. So
yeah, it is. You are right. It is really a cool ability. It's like voodoo, except it's obviously not a doll.
It's almost like Death Note.
These deaths are so. No, because Death Note is basically just writing a name and then somebody dies.
I know, but it's still like the same thing. Psychic, delete, transfer to whoever. What you do happens to that person. You think about it though. If the girl the guy who basically is like making her do this stuff, if she would have just drawn him, like, it would have been over.
Yeah, I'm trying not to beat them up for the plot so much, because that's the one thing that we've talked about with Haven so far, is that the themes can be, the interesting things are going on are with the characters, not with the trouble of the week episode.
Oh, but yes, and then the CG is kind of bad here. It's but it is what it is. It's a freaking Canadian show. What do you want? It's not a big Hollywood studio. These are.
I'm from Canada.
Are you from Canada? Oh,
no, gosh.
Eh? No, but like I said, by this point, if you're still critiquing the shows, if and you're not hooked on the show, shut up, because you're still watching it.
Well, you bring up a good point because, again, I think we care more about what the characters are doing. We're interested to see what kind of stuff, like, Duke's going to say, or in this case, like, we know that there's been some side characters that they're showing up, and then Nathan, what's going on with him? Is Audrey, I always look at how Audrey's playing both the guys, because she seems like when she's in FBI career killer mode, she's not even thinking about stuff personally, but you can see that she does, in my opinion, like both these guys, even though the one guy's, the bad guy, the other guy's the good guy. It seems like the good guy's unintentionally attracting her because he's, being, nonchalant about it, but that's because he can't feel stuff. So that's an important theme that we'll talk about here for the next episode. But then you get somebody who's, obviously a bad guy, but she's seen him age and, has got a daughter. So it's like, I don't know. It seems like to me in here, you've got Duke.
It's the X-Files.
Being a bit of a bitch a little bit, and he's not supposed to be that way. He's supposed to be a little slimy, and here he's just a bit more charming. And he's really good. I like his character a lot. He's very consistent with his moral compass, and he doesn't seem like he's flying off the handle so much, whereas you take a look at like Nathan, and Nathan is like, he's a rugged, handsome, good-looking dude, but he comes across as kind of that quiet, bookish kind of kid in school that, was good looking but didn't know it, sort of thing. Like, and that's a part of his character, because he can't feel pain, so he's got problems with physical sensations, and he just seems like he's really, pun intended, he's troubled by it. It affects his ability to have meaningful relationships. That's really what the episode's about, and blowing up, not this troubled week where some girl's basically been kind of forced to use their trouble to have these dudes that owe this guy money, having them die in weird ways. But it's cool because you have no idea what the hell's going on until you realize it. Then you're kind of like, yeah, that's kind of like lame, but it's kind of cool because it had me hooked. And you don't know until the end what's really going on. But yeah, she had the pitcher ended up going in the water and the guy drowned. It looked so bad.
Oh yeah. Well, that's kind of like a freaking horror movie if you think about it. They could have done that with that plot. And this girl,
I agree. That's my point. Some of these episodes have a dark theme to them, but the execution makes you kind of not chuckle, but just go, eh. Anyway.
Like you said, it's like it's a cool power game. I can see that being like a freaking like an X-Men character or ability. Is like
feel.
Yeah, he can't feel. Well, that's going to be really prominent here, I think, because in the next episode 8, a few episodes ago, we talked about kind of a fun episode, an interesting one, Wellness 2, where some people in the Havens Institute for the Criminally Insane escaped, and some of them kind of got their normal mental faculties back for a brief period of time, and that was its own story, but it was interesting. And here they're at a cancer clinic, but the thing is, and it sounds stupid, they call this like creature that's involved in this like the Dark Man, which just sounds stupid. I mean, Dark Man by itself is a great title, but the Dark Man, it just sounds lame, and the word "the" in front of it just does it. But I don't even really want to talk about the goofy stuff with this episode. You guys can talk about that. I just want to talk about how the fact that in this episode, this is the one where towards the end, you got Jess, who's the kind of hot middle-aged woman, really, who's taking a liking to Nathan.
Yeah.
And Nathan's had a tough time sealing the deal because of his anxiety of his things. That's got to be really frustrating.
He probably can't get. He probably can't get off. It's probably still.
That's exactly
I have to talk about how stupid this is. One second, because most of these troubles like to act like they make sense, and some of the times they have things. Okay, this is fair. This is fair. This guy's shadow comes to life and kills people he's angry at.
Mm-hmm.
That's just...
I like it.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Because there are ways to execute that idea better. If he was actually the person that was kind of involved in it, that makes a little more sense. But the fact that, whenever he gets angry, his shadow, the shadow knows.
Well, the shadow's protecting him. Yeah, it's part of. It's his
part. No. A shadow protecting him would be going to different lengths. The shadow is just acting at whoever he's angry at the moment.
Well, yeah.
Man,
It's a
guy
trouble.
really screwed up my order. Dead. It's
Yeah, you should have screwed his order then. It's his trouble, man. You can't. So you're saying it'd be better if he had control over it?
I feel like for the story, yes, it would have been better if he was the shadow. Like he would go fully into it.
Well, I gotta tell you this. I've seen this before in many. It's not a new thing for me. I've seen this before in other shows, other things, where you see a coma patient will be like, will be in the be there, laying there, and then he'll lash out at people. People try to pull, the cord or stuff. It's something new, and like I said, I really don't have any problem with it because it makes sense. The guy, you could be grieving, like if you're grieving over something like this, and then, look at Carrie. Carrie has freaking psychic powers. I understand that she was aware of it, but not at first she wasn't.
Well, that's what I was just kind of going to say, although, I think Carrie's a really good analogy. The show so far with everybody's troubles, the troubles seem kind of random from each person, and a lot of them don't have that awareness of what's going on with it. And this is a pattern where, like, I think it's 27 years they mentioned that these things seem to kind of come into play. I don't know if 27 years is significant to the monthly moon cycle or not. We'll see if we're given any more information later as the seasons progress.
Every 20 years, I guess it comes back or something like that?
27. It was 1983.
Years. Yeah,
right, when Lucy was there, and that's when they had troubles.
So it makes sense. These people who've lived all these lives probably didn't have any troubles. Maybe their dad or their grandfather, all of a sudden, because they're triggered, they're coming up, they don't know they're doing it. So that's why
they don't know what it is. Yeah, because they're all kind of like odd, quirky ones, which I don't think they're trying to be goofy about it, but having these shadows kind of act on their own and do their own thing. It's an interesting concept, but again, the execution's a little But again,
we should also talk about how, because I know we want to talk about the actual main characters of the show and get past the trouble. We should also talk about the end, because what they do is they lock the guy after they catch his shadow. Basically, they lock the guy not lock, but they put him in a house where it's blacked out windows, so that he's always in darkness, so that the shadow can't manifest.
Well, it's either that or they shoot him in the head, Pixel. They're being humane.
But
okay?
how does he live? He's a blind man. He's not going to be able to take care of himself forever.
Details.
It's called I'm sure he can just slide the food across the floor. I'm sure he's blind. What does he need light for?
Well, here's the thing.
No.
In many ways, this is like an 80s TV show, or basically when TV was at its peak in the 70s, it would just have a nice little quick, 30-second wrap up at the end, and you didn't really care if it made sense or not, because 45, 50 minutes of the show is basically just everything else in the 1 or 2 minutes to tie it all together. You're like, yeah, whatever.
So I want to talk about, now we're seeing everybody with troubles. The only person we haven't seen with troubles has been Duke. If you notice, even following along the episodes, Duke's the only one who hasn't had trouble yet.
Well, some of the side characters haven't either, so we don't know, because everybody's trouble doesn't come out at once.
But it throws you off. It's like Duke's the main character.
Well, yeah, but the person that what's his name? Nathan's into, she doesn't have a trouble.
That we know of. We don't know it.
Right, that we know of. Well, to this point, she hasn't. But here's the thing: she's kind of gets involved a little bit in this episode, and like I said, she's kind of good looking. She seems very.
She's
not a princess. She's very self-sufficient. So in a small town like that, a woman, like that, I think would stand out to somebody who's very eligible like him, especially being the town captain. I was just going to say, I just don't know whether or not, because it was mentioned before by Duke when they were pissing on each other. And this is where I thought, God, I don't know if they're being jokey or trying to be really hurtful, where he says, does she know you're not a real man? And he makes like this gesture with his nose. I'm going, well, does he mean, having an erection, like he can't get up because he can't feel? But it's specifically said by him many times that he can't feel pain. So I would think he could feel in general, but just not pain. So, but again, he has anxiety about it. So at the very least, he's having a tough time with Jess. But after this, Jess dumps his ass. Bottom line.
This episode, he says no, he can't feel anything. He can't feel his own skin, so he feels nothing. Which,
like he said, growing up, I haven't been able, since I'm 16 years old, I haven't been able to feel anything whatsoever. He said that very beginning of the first episode.
So,
Okay, so
I guess when he like picks up something,
I thought it was pain. Yeah. That's weird, though. It really is. I mean, and so he can't feel what it's like to know the touch of a lover. I mean, really, or himself growing up as a teenager.
Well, really, the feeling of the sun on your skin, the warmth. You know,
this also has what feels like the worst exchange.
So basically, he's like kick-ass.
I'm trying to remember. I think it's about the midway point of the show. The girl that Nathan's into, we've said her name, Jess. She brings some Chinese food over to the police station one night, and Audrey says, "Oh, bless you, Nathan, marry this woman." And then they stare at each other a moment. I just made this awkward, didn't I? And then they laugh about it. And then Jess says, "We'd have to get to second base first." And then she's like, "Oh no, I made this awkward." It is cringeworthy. And it's supposed to be cringeworthy, but it's not. That's not how I mean it. It just doesn't feel.
Well, it's the way women are. And at that age, it's like, you know, you cut to the chase a lot more when you're older. And in a small town, too, you know, everybody knows everybody's business. And that's one of the beautiful things, even though this is loosely based off of Stephen King stuff. The one thing I appreciate about Haven is that you're going to have characters. You're going to have these layers that are getting kind of undiscovered, whether it's the town, whether it's the locations, whether it's the characters, their backstories, the history of both, how they're related, all that stuff. There's still that whole human thing, too. And in a small town, if you're eligible, there's a short list, and that's just how it's going to be. And so to me, while it's kind of cringy because they're doing it, the point is this is like episode 7 where, you know, Nathan is sitting there and Jess had come in and was basically talking to him, and Audrey, you know, sitting across from him. She's going, "I think he needs to do a security check on your place. He'll be there at 8:00 because he can't get the hint." And so Jess is like, "You go, girlfriend. Thank you." You know, kind of like that little eye contact. That's how women work in that stuff. They're all, you know, happy because, you know, another female is going to score a touchdown with, you know, an eligible bachelor. So I get that it's cringeworthy, but
I think
he doesn't have social skills. He doesn't.
I think, but I'm saying, I think the reason she did it too is because Jess probably felt threatened by Audrey.
You think so?
To show that she has no interest in him whatsoever. You know, because, well, you think a woman would be afraid, like, you're hanging out with this girl all the time, but you're trying to, you know, it's my boyfriend, but my boyfriend works with this girl.
Yeah, but they hadn't been together long enough where, you know, they'd fight about it. So I think they'd have an understanding, hey, this is the man I'm going after, you leave him alone. That's the vibe I got from episode 7. In this episode, you know, you see it towards the end there, Nathan goes over to Jess's place and he's got the flowers and whatnot, and like the coffee or something, you know, and she basically, like I say, drops his ass. You could say it's a bunch of things, but the thing that was weird to me was that, yeah, you can understand that, and I can agree with you that could be an answer, but I just go, okay, here they had a character come in for a couple episodes that seemed kind of solids. They're on a peripheral, and then they got rid of them, not by killing them off, but just by moving them. Like, okay, because I thought she was a decent enough character. But, you know, we have the town coroner, whose name I forget right now. She's a good character. She shows up occasionally, so I don't know if she's going to have a trouble or what. So I do like how they introduce some characters, but we just don't know how long they're going to last. So that's what happens. But again, the whole thing I think for this is because you could argue that that's not the case, but that I think he's being friend zoned by Audrey here, because at the end when, you know, they're having a kind of little conversation, she gives him like a little kiss on the cheek, which is the kiss of death because it's not on the lips to me, baby. But then he gets that stupid little look in his eyes, like he's like, oh, I can feel her kiss. It's hokey, it's dumb, it's stupid, but it's significant after what he's been through and after 8 episodes now. What did you guys think of this for an ending?
Well, as far as they're really cemented the fact that they're going to hook the characters up.
Yeah, that really does, because
that was the whole point
she's
of it.
The only person that he can feel. So, but that's not the true ending. The true ending is the ominous music playing as we look at the blacked out house.
Well, also we learned that the shadow didn't kill people is if these idiots weren't taking their medicine.
Well, what I liked about the whole stuff was not even the shadow stuff. It's the fact that the people there with the hospital involved in giving them their treatments were stiffing the people that were there supposed to be giving it. That was kind of cynical and bitter in the adult world. That kind of crap happens. And so, like I say, the execution of the shadow thing, we can argue about whether it's done good or not. Their CGI sucks. I'm not going to disagree any of those points. But the whole human element about these people that've got cancer and looking to take medications and pay a lot of money or getting stiffed, I like that. Because there's that kind of people are selfish, do things that we would interpret as evil, like that's in there. That's really more scary to me than, a shadow coming to life and, doing things to protect its owner or whatever. It's like, yeah, I get it, but the human part was still kind of creepy. And I think that's been the theme to every episode so far, is that whatever trouble that's out there, the human dynamic that exists between at least the two people that are involved in whatever trouble we're talking about kind of has not in every episode, but in some of them, almost a sinister edge to it. And I do like that. I that's where I sometimes think the show's a little darker than what it appears, but sometimes, like Pixel, you were saying earlier, the execution leaves a little wanting to be desired.
Yep.
Final thoughts, guys.
Final thoughts. If you're not happy with the show, quit watching.
Keep watching and keep listening.
Do keep listening. I do have to agree. We are going to finish this season one way or another. And,
I was talking about quit watching Haven, not us. You can keep watching us if you're not a fan of the show.
I guess it begs the question, 8 episodes in, are we hooked? Do we feel like it's got our emotional investment to want to continue to 13? It does for me.
Well, yeah, I already watched the whole entire show. so this is my second time watching it. I love the characters, and Emily Rose, hot and talented. The guy who plays Nathan Worrells, Lucas Bryant, great actor. I think I can't see him playing any. He was on another show after this, and I just couldn't see him as anybody but Nathan though. Yeah. He just plays that role well. Because Nathan's kind of like Lurch.
Okay. And Google that, ladies and gentlemen.
He is, because he's so freaking quiet and socially awkward. He's a simple guy. He just wants to drive his truck and go get pancakes.
Yeah, true. Pixel, final thoughts?
I mean, we're still moving right along. Hopefully these last few episodes will actually have some deep ties into where we're supposed to be heading, because right now it is just the trouble of the week, and we haven't gotten any answers to any questions. Hell, we're still missing some questions.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, if you guys are curious what's going on next week, next episode really sets off. So tune in next week, and because oh man. It's one of my favorite episodes.
Fly, shenanigans ensue as we go deeper into Haven Season 1 Sundays. Thank you for listening. This is Rob signing off. Good night.
Good night.
And stay extreme.
Good night, everybody.